Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization, and today's tip is to manage your stress outside of training. What does that mean? Psychological stress affects training and how many gains you get a lot, because physiological stress and psychological stress all tap into the same recovery mechanisms. So the more psychological stress you accumulate, and the more psychological stress you fail to mitigate and reduce, the more it interferes with your body's physiological, like muscles and bones and cells and shit, actual things, the more you reduce that ability to recover and to grow and to improve and to thus make gains. So because psychological stress, psychological fatigue affects your gains a considerable amount, anytime you anticipate an activity you're considering engaging in or not engaging in the future, when you're planning out what you're going to be doing, anytime you anticipate an activity that's going to increase the psychological stress, you should be asking yourself, is it worth the stress? Both for the rest of your life, because you do things for things that are not just hypertrophy, and for actually the training process. Because you're putting in a lot of work eating right. You're using the RP Hypertrophy app, wink, 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 for your training. So your training is super scientific. You're going hard. You're trying to sleep right. You can get a huge boost to gains if you manage stress properly. So it's absolutely worth your concern as well. What are some examples of the kind of choices you can make in your life to choose to take on stress or to not take it on? Here's a few. I got 4 examples for you just to kind of paint a picture. And then you're going to use this information, hopefully, to go make your own better than not choices in the future. So first, let's say your boss wants you to stay late to finish some work that you weren't supposed to be doing. He's like, hey, Johnson didn't show up today. Boom, stack of papers, something like that. Of course, that's going to cause some psychological fatigue and some extra stress, and it won't be ideal for your gains, but maybe it's worth it for the career. If you think that this is the kind of job in which if you go really hard and you do really well, that you will get promoted and rewarded and things will be great, yeah, hell yeah, stay. Most of my academic career, I was the person staying super late, one of the people staying super late and getting all the work done that I had to. I was always wanted to stay ahead. I got ahead. I stayed ahead. I got even further ahead, and then I had a great career and still do. So it's absolutely worth it to grind 100% when it's worth it. But if there is a recurring request for more of your time and effort with no payoff and seemingly no ability for payoff, like someone's basically just using you in a not two-way street great way, and you're starting to become so skilled and talented that you know you could get a better job if you just went and looked for it, then it's time to look for another job or consider rearranging your engagement with that current job. And saying, hey guys, listen, I can do all this work, but could we talk about some pay stuff? Could we talk about constraining my time at work, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes we'll be like, oh my God, yeah, you're our number one. Holy crap. Just name your price. Tell us what you want. Like, obviously we're not going to pay you $1 trillion, but like, listen, we're flexible, please. We didn't even know that you were under stress. And if that conversation, they're like, yeah, well, look, like, it is what it is, then you can start looking for other work. Here's the thing. There's almost always another job and almost always another better job you just haven't seen yet. Or you've seen it and you're like, ooh, should I pull the trigger? Yes, if something is continually stressing you out and giving you a ton of psychological fatigue for training and for the rest of your life, it could be on the margins not worth it for you anymore, and you just have to pour it out. If it's worth it, great. Because just like corporate lawyers that work all fucking day and night, but they make like $300,000 a year, and it's like, yeah, that could be worth it. If you like money, hell yeah, it's worth it. But if you're doing day and night work and your boss is a dick and everyone at the company sucks and the company's going nowhere and it's probably going to go bankrupt, then yeah, you should maybe look for another job. Number 2 example, there's an all-night party that's 2 hours away, 2 hours drive away, and then you have to drive back in the morning when everyone's sober and can drive again. If there's a party 2 hours away and I'm going to it, there better be a fucking free blowjob giveaway at that party. 2 hours. You know how many parties there are in 2 minutes away from you in most cases? And if leg day is coming up, if the party's Friday night and Saturday's leg day, I will not see you there because fuck that. There's always fun to be had in this world, but you got to strategize about which fun you're going to have and which fun you're not going to try to reach for, because it screws up the rest of your life too much, because it screws up training too much and recovery, but mostly because if you go way out of your way to have fun, it had better be worth it. From my personal experience, now I'm 38 years old, it often isn't. Now look, sometimes it is, man. I've gone out of my way to party and it was the time of my life, or one of them. But a lot of times, maybe more times than not, you have these high hopes and you show up and you're like, all right, this is cool. And you get a heej or a beej, figure out in your own time what that means. And it's fine. And you're like, we got to drive 2 hours back? Really? I could have done this anywhere else. So sometimes, even though things seem fun and they're like a good worth investment, think about how much stress they're going to cause and how much time they're going to take away. And if that's going to screw your training or your nutrition up, or you sleep a lot, and or if it's just not worth the time by itself, you don't have to say yes to everything fun. Full stop. Another example is your grandma asks you to help her move. Now you could be like, well, actually, grandma, I got a hard workout coming up and can't do it, but you're not a piece of shit. And your grandma's cool as hell, so you're going to help her move. It will be extra stress, but you're going to take it on the chin because grandma's dope. And you're going to feel really good about that as a human being, and that's going to continue to fuel you for even longer than any small respite in the stress could. So sometimes you will do stressful things that do interfere with training, quote unquote, or in reality do somewhat, but they're absolutely worth it for their own sake. But if they're not worth it for their own sake, then you really have to ask why the hell you're doing it. And something that's almost never worth it for its own sake is arguing with people on the internet. That is something I've learned is very stressful potentially, unless you're practicing the arguing to convince principles, which you can Google. I have a few videos on those. It's potentially very stressful with very minimal or no payoff. And why are you doing it? It's almost never worth it. Give some thought to that and realize that your psychological degree of stress absolutely affects your physiological responses. It affects your gains. It also affects the rest of your life. So anytime you have some stress to take, regular work causes stress, commuting causes stress, doing your bills and your taxes and grocery shopping can cause some stress, raising kids can cause stress, relationships can cause stress sometimes. You already have a bunch of built-in stress. So any extra stress you take on after that has to be worth it in relation to your training and your recovery and your diet, and it has to be worth it in relation to how does it boost the rest of your life. And if it fails on those metrics to meet the minimum bar, just don't do it. Find your way out of it or find a way to minimize it. Because it's cool to be a stress-accepting machine, pincushion for that shit. But in the end, you want to architect your life in such a way that gives you the results that you're looking for. And sometimes stress is really good at enhancing those results and making you stronger. And sometimes it's a distraction and a drain away from doing the things that will make you the best at what you can be. Folks, that's all I got. Reminder, we got a members site, members section on the YouTube. Free videos all the time, free. Good God, you pay for them, not by video. You pay us per month a very small amount of money, and you get a ton of videos, at least one video every week, usually more, and bonus videos that do not appear on the regular YouTube. And then we've got the Team Full ROM forum if you're interested in that sort of thing. And we also have the RP Hypertrophy app, which is something that you can use, and the link is right in the description. And I think it's the best program generator and the best training app on the planet because I had my design. And gee whiz, am I selfish. Anyway, give it some thought, and see you guys next time.